Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first webinar of this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here in this webinar related to career management, the career management skills, why we need them, and how we can develop them. We have with us our guest, Pedro Resende from Chaperon, but before introducing him, I would like to ask you to turn on your camera and please feel free to interact with our guest because I'm quite sure that you will have a lot of doubts and you will need to clarify some things related to this subject. So we have with us Pedro Resende. He's a scientist and also an entrepreneur. Pedro completed his biology degree at the Faculty of Sciences at our university in 2006. He started his career at Instituto de Patologia e Imunologia Molecular at our university as well. And in 2007, he moved to the United Kingdom to work at Pfizer's education headquarter for research and development. In 2018, Pedro moved to California and did his PhD. Sorry, please turn off the sound. Pedro went to California in 2018, as I was saying, to do his PhD research on stem cell biology at the Salk Institute in San Diego and at the University of California, Los Angeles. In 2013, Pedro came back to Portugal and he is now a co-principal research investigator at realiza-se, an institute from Porto, where he's studying how genetic alterations in adult stem cells can lead to development of tumors. Pedro is also a co-founder of two professional associations, experienced roles in political advice, being also one of the few researchers selected to participate as deputy in the first edition of Health Parliament Portugal, and was also invited by the Ministry of Health to be an external consultant for the area of innovation in health. More recently, Pedro decided to enter the world of entrepreneurship. He co-founded and he is the director of Chaperon. I don't know if you have ever heard, but if not, please go search at Google what is Chaperon, an online marketplace for career development in science. So Pedro, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, for being here. It's a pleasure for us, for the University of Porto, to receive you as our alumni and our partner as well. And I give you the floor so that you can talk about these career management skills and the importance of them nowadays in our career development. Thank you so much.
Hi, Fernanda. Thank you very much for the very kind introduction and thank you for the invitation. Also, hello to everyone present. It's nice that you are interested in this webinar, and feel free to beautiful University of Porto. It's the majority of us want, and I was very, very motivated to do academic research. The majority of my colleagues went to do their PhDs and I made fail. For me, I had to think about the plan B. And I started applying for positions in industry, although I did not want that. But surprisingly, I was selected to participate in this program from ISEP, Contacto, and that led me to a and work in the process of optimization of drug production. This was the first, I believe, learning experience about how sometimes our expectations can prove wrong, because I did not want to go into industry, but the truth is, after working 1 year in industry, I was loving working at Pfizer. And I loved it so much that, in fact, I decided not to apply for academic positions anymore, and I wanted to pursue a career in industry in Europe. At this time, I faced another barrier. My degree is before the Bologna Convention agreement. So my degree from University of Porto, unfortunately, was not recognized in the majority of the countries where I was applying. So they have 3 levels of entrance. Either you are a BSc, a master, or a PhD. And they were considering me a BSc, which I thought was very unfair because I studied during 5 years. So it's the equivalent to a master. So because of that, I decided to do another academic degree. I was in between doing a master or a PhD. I ended up deciding to do a PhD. And because I wanted to continue abroad, I was able to enter in a program, GABA program, that allowed me to pick the lab in the world where I wanted to do my academic research. And I chose to go to California. I worked 4 years at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies. I worked 1 year at UCLA in Los Angeles. And after these 7 years experience as an expatriate, I decided to come back to Portugal. Again, I applied to many positions in industry at this stage and did not succeed. So again, another barrier in my plans. I end up experimenting different roles, try to prototype different types of positions, try to get a sense of what might be best for me. I worked in the area of policy advice. I co-founded 2 professional associations while I continued to do my academic research at I3S. And what I found out during this process was that I really liked leadership positions. So when I was vice president, the president of the professional associations that I founded, I found very comfortable in those positions. And I was passionate about careers in science. And that's, I think, the 2 main reasons why I decided to found this company, Chaperone, that works in the area of career development in science. And I'm now working also or experience this role, which is very different from a researcher, as you might guess. And this might seem like very nice in this PowerPoint slide or in my CV if I write it correctly, but the truth is that, as I told you a little bit or introduced you a little bit here, there was a lot of frustration, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of things that shouldn't have happened if I had the right support managing my career. And I'm not an exception. This is, I believe, a problem that affects many, many scientists worldwide. And the fact is that our careers are non-linear, and there's no job for life anymore. And if this is true for pretty much every single area that you can graduate from, in science, this is even more true. Instability or non-linearity is quite common. And I don't know if you know the data, but I didn't know when I first started my academic research, but the very, very few of us who start their career as academic researchers stay in academia in the long term. This is data from the Royal Society, so specific for the UK, but the statistics don't change too much between countries. And 95% of us, they have to leave academia at a certain point in their life. Most of the people, they leave later, after their first or second postdoc, when they are 40 something. But it's good to keep that in mind, because we are trained and we are envision our career as always as academic researchers, and we don't know necessarily that the majority of us are not going to stay in academia. It's a good thing to keep in mind from the beginning. And because this is true, I think, and because of the non-linearity, we need career development skills. We need to think about our careers in a proactive manner. And this is an issue that is going to grow dramatically, is growing, and it's going to continue to grow, mainly because of the growing competition for academic jobs. The majority of countries, almost every single country in Europe is increasing the number of PhDs per year that they award. This is data from, for example, comparison between 2004 and 2018. So when you see that in Portugal, we increased from 2.5, in the UK, 1.9, in Spain, 2.1. But again, in Europe, pretty much every single country increased. And outside Europe as well. For example, China is the fastest growing country in the number of PhDs. And as researchers, we compete internationally for jobs. So it's very important to keep this thing in mind. And some people might argue, okay, there are more PhDs, but there's also more investment in terms of money put into research, so that the two things compensate. That's actually not true. There is an increase in the R&D expenditure in the majority of the countries, but it's far from being the same proportion of the PhDs that are awarded. So there will be a continuous competition for academic jobs. This brings pressure into a very important sector of our society, which is the R&D. There are more than 8 million researchers worldwide. In terms of it represents 1.6 trillion US dollars in terms of the global investment. And as part of the Sustainable Development Goals, most countries committed to increase the number of researchers. And this means that a lot of us, we need career development, but only approximately a third of us, this is based on a survey that we did, have access to career development. And because we don't have access to career development, this leads to underemployment, career stagnation, financial insecurity, impacting two very important United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, namely quality education and decent work and economic growth. This is a problem that has been recognized internationally by very important institutions. For example, at the level of the European Union, more than 1,200 institutions from 41 countries signed a code of conduct called the European Charter for Researchers, where research institutions commit to provide career development services to their staff. But the truth is these measures are not being very effective, since the majority of the scientists still mention that they don't have access to career development. And when we talk about career development, or we talk about career management skills, it's important for you to understand these are skills that help us to identify our existing skills, develop career learning goals, and take a positive actions towards our careers. For the majority of the audience here today, I think this translates into questions such as, what is the best place to look for jobs? How can I improve my networking skills? Should I do a PhD or not? How should I contact a laboratory for an internship? What's best for me, academia or industry? And how can I create a healthy and productive relationship with my supervisor, for example? All of these questions are examples, and many more could be brought here as an examples. But these skills, they lead to our personal development, because as we identify our skills and qualities, we are able to better define our goals in life and how to realize and maximize our potential as individuals. But also they, for obvious reasons as well, they lead to our professional development. As we acquire and develop these skills, we become more effective in our workplace. The lack of career development is impacting researchers in different manners. Positively, if we provide career development, we lead to a higher productivity, we increase our well-being and mental health, we increase our employability, and also we lower the risks for problems that are growing in academia as well, such as scientific misconduct and bullying and harassment. This lack of career development, again, still on the same topic, is leading to a social and economic impact. I would like to bring up the point also of mental health, which is becoming more and more aware for this social problem, and it's always important to talk about this. Mental illnesses such as depression and mental health problems such as stress, anxiety, and burnout are very, very widespread among researchers. One of the latest papers published in this matter estimated that 2 out of 5 people in science are affected by depression. And again, depression as defined as a clinical state. So it's a very, very strong incidence, 4 times increase compared to the overall population. And there are many studies from different countries with similar estimates. So this is definitely a problem that happens worldwide. It's not a problem of country A or B. Nature, the journal, made a survey last year and estimated that in academia, 51%, so half of the researchers, are considering leaving active research due to work-related mental health problems. This, if this doesn't ring a bell in your mind, I don't know what will. It's a huge problem, and as a society, we need to address it. 56% of postdocs have a negative view of their career outlook. They are pessimistic about their options. And half of these researchers believe that the pandemic has negatively affected this already ongoing issue. It was with this in mind that in 2018, I met Joanna, and we decided to tackle these problems to create a solution that was more effective, and it was going more in aligning the interests of both the research institutions, the career specialists, and the researchers. And I'm not going to talk today about Chaperone. It's not the purpose of this webinar, but tomorrow we'll have a session happening from 12 to 13. Please visit our stand and make your questions about what we are doing at Chaperone. What me and Joanna have learned a lot is how to develop these skills of career management. And I'm sure for the majority of you have heard or believe in the message that your supervisor is the only person that can help you in your career. This is very far from being true. And I hope that at least in this webinar, you can embrace that there are different people that can help you in your career. It's not just you, and it's not just you and your supervisor. And here I would like to talk in the next few slides about different areas that impact career management, namely supervision. It's obviously a very important aspect, mentoring, and again, another very important aspect related to career management, but also about career information, career advice, career counseling, and career coaching, and how all of these can be important for you at a certain period of your career. And I think it's important for you to understand the differences between these areas. As you understand the differences, you can take more out of what you define your career management skills. And I would like to start with supervision because it's probably the most obvious one to start. And your supervisor is someone that guides you through the requirements of your position. It sets out the expectations initially related to a certain project or internship. It will give you feedback in terms of how you are progressing and assist you, obviously, during meetings in terms of completing the milestones that you both agreed in a timely manner. So this person is going to be focused on a project. It's going to be a time-bound type of support, meaning that if you agreed on an internship for 1 year or a PhD for 4 years, that person is going to be always with that thing in the mind, saying, okay, these were the goals for this year, or these were the goals for these 4 years. Are we achieving them or not? How can I assist this person so the project succeeds? And this is different from mentoring, for example, because a mentor is more focused on your growth, not necessarily related with the project in particular, but more like in a holistic manner, focused on the long term and addressing both professional and personal aspects. Your supervisor can be your mentor, that's fine. In many situations, that is the case. But it can also be someone that it's not your supervisor. It can even be someone that is not from your institution. You can find mentors. Ideally, you also complement your mentors from your, let's say, specialty with other mentors that are not necessarily specialists in your area, but are specialists in other areas. It's very good for you to have like a good network of mentors. And On mentoring, I also would like to, I don't have space here. I could give a talk like 30 minutes just about mentoring, but if I have one single message to say about mentoring is pick your mentors carefully. This is a relationship, and by being in a relationship, you are supposed to invest time in that relationship, and consider a mentor-mentee relationship as a two-way street. It's not just the mentor that gives knowledge to the mentee. The mentee should take the driver's seat on the car of this relationship, also in terms of setting out expectations, asking for the things they need, and yeah, please have an active role in this relationship. It's very important. Career information has always been a very important aspect. If you don't know the information you need, if you don't know where the job that you want is going to be announced, if you don't know what is the salary that from the position that you want to apply to, if you don't know what is the training or certificates that you need to do in order to work at position A or B, you will never be able to make good decisions. Information is everything. These days, information is available very easily. Obviously, internet facilitated a lot of this. I'm still, like when I was in university, most of the job posts and everything was on cardboards on the corridors of the university and so on. People did not use too much like the online resources to look for jobs. This changed dramatically. The problem now is the curation of this information. You get like huge loads of information. You can get it everywhere. The secret is where to find it so that you get the most relevant information to you at the right time when you need it. And this, again, it takes time for you to develop like an efficient strategy to get this. And networking is obviously a very important aspect related to this. As I don't know if you talked in other people have mentioned in other sessions, but there's a hidden job market, meaning that there's a lot of positions that are not even announced. They just are filled based upon referrals or contacts of your networks. This represents, I think the estimates are around 70% of the job positions. So it's very important in terms to get career information to be a good networker. Then you should think, this is something that I didn't know, again, when I started my career in the first years, but advisors are different from mentors and are different from supervisors. Advisors are people who are experienced in achieving what you want to achieve, and they have important information based on their personal perspective to share with you. And this information is very often very valuable for you to make decisions. And interactions with advisors are typically one-off or short-term, as it's not like a mentor that is there like to worried about your growth in the long term, and are typically driven by specific questions or goals. I think it's obvious why advisors can be very important, but I would like to point out these differences between supervisors supervisors, mentors, and advisors. Again, another professionals that are very useful for you to develop career management skills are career counselors. These are people who did their training either in human resources or psychology, or in certain countries they have specific training for this, career guidance practitioners. And these are people who are specialists in guiding people in their careers. Therefore, they have like a toolkit much more complete than the other people in terms of supporting you in your career. They know how to identify your skills, your attributes and interests, and align them in relationship to your career options. They are trained to help you understand your barriers, think about what you want to do, obviously building self-awareness and self-confidence in that process. So I think this is something very important also these days. Lastly, career coaching has become also a huge trend in science. I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of group leaders, a lot of professors that do career coaching as part of their professional development. And a coach works like a personal trainer in the gym, is a person that has a specific plan, is focused on goals and results, and will coach you in order to achieve those goals. So again, it's different from all the different people that I've explained before. And a coach obviously applies the methodology of coaching and should be certified in coaching by the professional associations that work in the area. Lastly, I would like to share with you a little bit of what I think will be the future trends related to career development in science, but also maybe in other areas as well. What I've learned in the past 2 years by talking with important institutions in Europe mostly. And these, I think they should bring a more positive action in your careers as well, in terms of, if you know these, maybe you could pick the institutions where you want to work better, or improve the way you're managing your careers. And first, I think it's very important for you to understand that career management is something that is not just to jumpstart your career. Again, careers are non-linear, so you're gonna need career management skills always. It's a lifelong need. It's not that thing that when I started, we had career sessions to pick the course that we wanted to do in university, and that was it. We were supposed to have all the process there. This is not true anymore. We're gonna have to continuously evolve in our career management skills. And if you have your eyes and ears open in the past few years regarding areas of career, you have heard words such as words such as reskilling and upskilling. So this is the trend for the next few years. You will always be on reskilling and upskilling on this wheel in order to be an effective worker in the careers these days. And this is something that it's needed for people who are looking for jobs outside academia, but also for people who want to stay in academia, obviously, and also for people who don't know yet what path to follow. It's for everyone. Everyone needs career management skills. The second trend, and it's aligned with the slides that I just showed you before, we're moving from a vision where my supervisor is the only person that can help me to embracing the importance of different specialists and their respective roles. I think I've explained this in the last few slides. I think if you have any questions, I'm happy to take questions at the end regarding this topic. And regarding institutions and institutional support, we're moving from a single person office, and I would add sometimes in a dark room with an old PC that nobody knows necessarily this person is, to an office that truly values like the diversity, inclusion, and hyper-personalization needed for careers these days. And this is, to achieve these, institutions, I believe, must combine a very good internal service with external services. Should combine in-person meetings with online services, should have formal and informal learning process, and should offer a wide diversity of technical expertise, different languages and cultural representation in order to be effective career development office. And this is a particular issue for research institutions, not necessarily. Well, universities are becoming more and more internationalized, but like in some research institutions, more than half of the staff is international. So if you have only career development office with people that only know the career job market within your own country, you're very limited. So I think institutions should internationalize also their career development office in order to be again inclusive and personalized and address diversity of staff. And then a very important aspect, at least in my opinion, we need to move from inequality to democratized access. It makes no sense that scientists that work at top-notch institutions have a very high quality career development support, and institutions in poor countries or underdeveloped countries don't have access at all to career development. So we need to share resources. We need to work in a collaborative manner. We need to explore the full potential of the digital tools. This is very important in order to achieve this goal. For example, we have done career development online with scientists in Africa, connecting them with career consultants, for instance, in the US or in Europe very easily. And obviously, in a non-digital form, this is much more complicated. And I think this is a very important issue to address in terms of our societies as well. And then lastly, this is again also a personal matter of that I think it's very important, but I think as researchers, we must be the first to give the example in terms of respecting the needs of our planet. And we should move from high carbon producing solutions to environmental sustainability. So I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of institutions that work in the area of career development that are focused on organizing conferences that gather, well, these days with the pandemic, that changes a lot, but it was an industry that produced a lot of CO2 in terms of organizing conferences for training people. And we must be responsible for that as well. And I think in the future, maybe institutions who will have to have in their final report something like the amount of CO2 they produced in their training. And this will be an important measure to consider how aligned with the sustainable development goals they are. And with this, I finished. I would just like to tell you that at Chaperone, we believe in a world where each and every scientist has access to high quality career support. And we are committed to be players on this goal. And I thank you very much for your attention. And I would love to discuss this topic with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Now, please, the students, the participants here, do you have any question or topic or comments that you would like to state, to make in order us to discuss it? It was clear for you all, these trends that Pedro introduced and presented? It makes sense for you? Yes? So Pedro, maybe I'll introduce the topics. You have mentioned the you have mentioned that you really appreciated and enjoyed your experience at industry at Pfizer. Mm-hmm. And I would like also to discuss, and you were also talking about it, to discuss how important is it for a student that wants, for example, to do a PhD or is doing a PhD, how important it is to have this experience in a traineeship, in an internship, in an industry culture. How important is it for his professional development or personal development, of course, but when he is trying to pursue career in science?
Yeah. I think thank you for the question. And it's a very good question. I think when we are starting our careers, experimenting different things, it's very useful, because very often, and I just told you my case, but it's the case of many people, very often our expectations are wrong. Sometimes we think we don't like a certain job and then we like it, or the opposite is also true. And I think if we experiment different roles in the beginning of our careers, we will be better equipped to make better decisions later when obviously will have less chances to be on a continuous change. And this is also important in kind of two trends that I believe, or philosophies that people use in terms of career planning. One, in terms of your career, one is career planning, and the other one is career prototyping. Some people believe that you should plan your career, and here planning, let's put it like in the strict way. So every move is very well thought. Like, I'm going to have this position in order to develop these skills, and then I'm going to apply for this position, and then I'm going to apply for this position, and then everything is planned and well structured. It could take longer or not, but everything is planned. Other people think that you should do a lot of prototyping, just like, okay, this might be good or not, but I should try it. And then as you try it, you learn, and then you try again another thing, but not thinking too much. And then in the end, after you had a lot of prototypes, you start off, everything starts to make sense, and you find your way. I honestly don't know. I think maybe a balance between planning and prototyping is where the secret is, or maybe at different stages of your life, more planning is needed, and others in prototyping. But I definitely think that building a portfolio of different experience when you're starting your career is very, very important.
Thank you so much, Pedro. We have a question here from one of our participants, is asking if your company, Chaperone, also works with the human resources companies, assessments, or only in an individual basis, supporting individuals?
No, we work with companies as well. Actually, like our main focus is working with institutions. We currently work with different institutions Europe-wise in supporting their staff. We're working with the European Commission at the moment, for example. We're working with the EMBL. We have worked with different universities here in Porto, Umea University in the Nordic countries. But yeah, we work with companies and research institutions, namely like universities, research centers, funding agencies, and so on.
Yes. I don't know if anyone else has a question, but I have a curiosity. It's related to PhD programs that are not really connected with science or health, yeah, but are from politics, social sciences, psychology. We have here some people attending that are from psychology. And I would like to, from your point of view, do better. Chaperone also helps people from this profile, right? From this background. Yeah. And from your point of view, do you think that the job market is also looking for people with this kind of background, with this higher qualification?
Yeah, I think doing a PhD there was this idea that doing a PhD might be harmful for you if you want to move to industry. I don't agree with that. I think, well, in certain situations, if you have a master, I would say that you don't need, in a lot of situations, you don't need a PhD to pursue your career in industry. That's very true. But that does not imply that if you do a PhD, that you'd be hurting your chances of later coming back to industry. I think many times a PhD is actually helpful, or in certain companies that are research driven, not having a PhD prevents you to go to the higher positions sometimes. It really depends on the situation. But you touched a very important topic that also, again, another thing that I didn't know when I started my PhD. I didn't know that you could do a PhD in a company. I only thought that you could do a PhD in a academic institution. And in the area of life science, for instance, which is my area, you can do a PhD at different companies like Novartis, Roche, Genentech, BL here in Portugal. You can do your PhD in industry, and that might be a very good option for those that kind of like they want to do their PhDs, but they want to have some connection in industry because they are looking to transition to that area later. Yeah, I think that would be a very good option. Obviously, it depends on the specific case, but it's very good to know at least that option exists. I didn't know that.
Yes, it's true. And I would like also to complement saying that here at University of Porto, we are now seeing that the profile of the PhD students is changing. I don't know if you also have that perception, but a few years ago, we saw that the majority of students that were attending a PhD came from the master or from the licenciatura, from bachelor, right? But in an immediate or direct way. But nowadays we see that we are receiving a lot of applications from students that want to do a PhD that have a lot of professional experience in companies, in the industries, in other organizations, non-governmental organizations. So we also believe that this profile is changing. And it's also being more demanding for the university in order to support their career development. So how do you also see these changes, if you have also this perception, of course?
Yes, I believe that information feeds into what I was telling, that the career development offices need to improve their diversity of support that they are able to give. It's becoming more and more complicated to support people because as career management becomes and careers are more complex, and obviously that the career management cannot stay the same. And in the old years, you have someone who was very experienced in know everyone, like in, let's say, let's think about Porto, that know every job positioning opening in Porto, who you should contact, what were the requirements here in Porto, and everything, and everybody that came out of the University of Porto will go to this person, that person would help him. But then now we're moving, like we have people that coming from different countries, different cultures, people that want to go to industry, people that want to go to a very different field, people, and in order to be able to support that diversity and complexity, you have to have different people with different skill sets. I think that's very obvious. For instance, let's say that you're a recent graduate from University of Porto, but you want to work in a social impact venture in Sweden. You need someone who knows like how are people recruiting in Sweden? Do they use a photo in their CV like we do or not? What model of CV do they use? What is expected in an interview there, in a job interview there? Do they behave the same as we do? There are a lot of cultural differences in all of these aspects. And I'm sure you know a lot of this, but some people in the audience may not know. And there's no way to make a good service without addressing these needs.
Yes, thank you. We have here two questions. One from Madhuri, I think it's that. I'm sorry if I didn't spell right. That is asking, a recruiter in a company that recruits a recent graduate with no experience, what this recruit is expecting from this recent graduate, and how the recent graduate can deal with that expectations?
Well, first of all, everyone that finishes a degree, they should have experience. They might not have the experience that is asked in a job post, but they should have experience. There's a lot of skills that we get through our training in university. And if there is a specific skill that the company is looking for, and obviously because we just graduated, we did not work in a position that developed that skill. For example, let's say the company is looking for communication skills, a person with good communication skills. there are ways that you can develop this. Well, you can say the many different ways in which during your degree, you develop these good communication skills, for example, in the presentations that you did, in the collaborative work that you've done. But there's also room for you to try to think about other things that you did in your life, like your hobbies. For instance, if you're, let's say that you played sports or you did something in arts, maybe you did some communication in there as well. You can use it as a vehicle to portray how you develop those skills. You can do online courses. Maybe we'll have also a little bit of experience in that area as well. You can get together and organize like a podcast on that topic and interview different people and through that way start to develop a network and get skills on that area as well. I mean, creativity could lead you to many ways and to showcase your skills. But again, if you're a recent graduate, you shouldn't be applying for jobs that ask for people who have like 3 years experience in project management. Those are not the jobs for you. You should be applying for jobs that are for recent graduates, and those jobs, they should have expectations that are aligned with the experience of a recent graduate. And if they are not, forget them, because they should be. You cannot. There's no other way to circumvent this. It's like if you don't have 2 years experience in project management in a company, there are many ways that you can try to say how you have skills in project management in other things that you do, but there's no other way.
Thank you so much, Pedro. And here, Francisca is saying that she has a master's degree in information, information science of information, and she is looking now for a job, and it's being quite difficult for her to have a job. And she also states that this information management is very important for the search of this job offer. I would like also to complement what you are saying, Pedro, related to the career communities or this kind of support that career service have to establish and have to reinforce in order to better help people from all the backgrounds with the diversity of situations. And related to this, to the information, we see nowadays that recruiters, job seekers, PhD students, recent graduates, well, the access to the information is very easy. It's very, you have internet, you have your smartphone, you have platforms, you have Google, you have LinkedIn. So it's very easy to catch up this information concerning the job market, offers, opportunities, companies that are recruiting. So related to this comment of Francisca, I would like to ask you, is it really this difficulty in order to reach the markets? Is it really related to this access of information, or is more related to our not showing very well our skills, not showing very well our proposal, our brand as a job seeker, as a potential collaborator? How do you feel about it? Yes? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Are you listening to me, Pedro?
Oh, I thought you were asking to Francisca. I thought you were asking and I was waiting for Francisca to reply. Okay.
No, for you.
Okay.
From your point of view.
I was gonna. Yeah, my answer was very aligned with what you just said. I was thinking that there are many reasons why it can be difficult. It can be difficult because you don't find the jobs that you're looking for. You only find one every month. It could be difficult for different reasons, meaning that you find a lot of jobs, but you're applying and you never get like a positive answer. And then if that's the case, what is wrong? Is that you're applying for the wrong jobs? Or maybe your CV or your cover letter, motivation letter is not written in the most effective way. So that there will be some research to be done in terms of this is the main problem or not. But having said that, like as a main strategy, I would say that create like a schedule in your calendar dedicated for job searching. It's like create a protocol, a procedure. It's like looking for houses. It's like it takes time. It's you need to commit in doing it and create a system. Even if you have like an Excel file with the positions that you want to apply, what are they looking for? Organize the files that or the CV and the motivation letter that you use to apply for those jobs. Try to get feedback from the applications that you do in terms of like if they can give you feedback in terms of why you didn't get in, and try to talk with other people that are getting those jobs. Try to get a sense of what they did differently from you that worked, in order to slowly start building a better strategy. And again, like I said in my introduction, don't do this alone. Like try to talk to your university, talk with the career counseling or career services from your university, talk to your supervisors, talk to your mentors. If you have resources also, try to find career advisors, career counselor coaches elsewhere, also in professional companies, and don't leave this huge task for yourself. Like I again, with the metaphor that I used, looking for houses, I don't think anyone neglects the importance of using companies to help you look for houses. It's a nightmare to do it alone. And looking for jobs is the same. Like you should talk to different people that should help you. And but I know that job hunting is very complicated. It takes time. You have to be patient, and also how to say this, you should know that if you send 10 applications and you didn't get a reply, that's normal. Like when I came back from my PhD, I came back with a PhD with 2 world-class institutions like UCLA and Salk Institute. I sent more than 50 applications and only got 2 answers. And the 2 answers were no. The other 48, they didn't even care to answer. These were my first 50 applications that I did. It's sad, but it's the truth. It's not you. It's not. It's just you. It's complicated, but there you need to slowly start to develop methodologies to create a better strategy. And again, don't stick to plan A. There's plan B, there's plan C, there's plan D. And as you are in plan B or C or D, you will probably have gained more time to work on other plans.
Thank you. Tiago is also saying that someone that is finishing a PhD, postdoc research is not that appealing now. And he is also stating that he feels that there are less opportunities in industry for people who have PhD or postdoc. Do you also think that, because, okay, I think that companies are getting more financial support, are more aware of the importance of research, innovation, development. So do you think it's really that we have still few offers?
We have many offers in industry. I completely agree that the market in academia is very competitive. In industry, is growing a lot. Well, I'm talking about at least Europe-wise, assuming that you don't have the limitation, you only want to work in Portugal. If you have that, obviously the limitations are bigger. But even considering that, like when I finished my degree, compared to that year, these days you have many more opportunities in companies in science. There are the question is, a lot of people, they don't know about these positions. And again, I told you that 70% of the jobs, they are on the hidden job market. And think about how did you find about the academic positions that you applied to? A lot of people, like, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people, they told me, I have a friend who told me about this institute, and I saw this research lab, and I saw the PI, and I knew someone that worked in that institute. I talked with that person, and then I end up meeting the professor, group leader, and then I applied for this job. And then you ask the same person, how many contacts do they know that work in the industry? And they will tell you, I don't know anyone who works in the industry, or I know 5 or 6 people. I mean, that's the problem. Like, if you're looking for jobs in industry and you're not finding jobs in industry, it means that you probably don't have a very good developed network in industry. If you had a strong network in industry, at least you'll be aware of where those positions are opening. For example, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Some people, my big connections of me there. I like daily, I find like more than 10 positions daily on that are for researchers in industry. It's very easy. The problem is like how to curate that information. How do I know these are the most relevant positions, and how to apply for those positions? That's another problem. But there are many positions being open. The question is whether you are in the right positions to see them or not.
Thank you, Pedro. Yeah, we have here also a comment stating that it's really demotivated since there is no feedback from the majority of companies when you do an application. But maybe things are also changing from the point of view of customer experience and employee experience. Maybe companies are now starting to change their communication with the job seekers and the applications, right?
Yes, I hope so. And obviously I think it's a social responsibility if you open a position to make sure that you treat well everyone that applies. If you apply for a position, you should be able to provide, I'm not saying it's going to be an elaborate feedback, but at least some sort of feedback of if that person was not selected, of some like a positive message and some notes on how that person can improve their application. Again, this is more complicated for very big companies that receive like hundreds and hundreds of candidates for 1,000 even for the same position. But also those companies, they have a bigger human resource department. So they also have the resources to behave better in that sense. I hope that, and I know that there are a lot of companies that are behaving better in this sense. And I think that you should look for companies that you are a fit. So if those companies, they don't respect you in the recruiting process, they probably will not be also very respectful after you being recruited. So yeah, look for those companies as well.
Thank you so much, Pedro. You have described here a lot of topics that have a huge importance for people who are now trying to attend a PhD, or are thinking about doing a PhD, or people that are now finishing their PhD. And you mentioned a point that is really important because it's related with connections. And sometimes we have the perception that despite researchers being in a research team, we have this kind of perception that the work that they do is very individual, is very by their own. So the importance of connections and establishing connections with other people, establishing a network of contacts, it's really, really important to get also these opportunities, especially in the hidden market, as you told, right? Most of the job offers, they are not advertised in platforms, they are from recommendations. So you mentioned that point, and I totally agree with that as well.
There's a lot of serendipity in job searching, and a lot of things that happen based on referrals and connections. For example, like I was when I came back to Portugal, I had one friend of mine who was just finished her PhD in stem cells, and she was frustrated because she was not finding positions as a postdoc in this area of stem cells. And she just shared that with me. She just said, well, I'm frustrated, I'm not finding a position. It was the case that like 2 weeks before, I had a friend of mine who started his lab on stem cells in Sweden, and was looking for people for those positions. And I put the two in contact, saying, well, my friend Philippe, I told her, oh, I have this friend, Christiana, she's looking for a job. Why don't you two talk with each other? Maybe. And Christiana ended up moving to his lab. They created a company now. She's the CEO after 4 or 5 years. They published in Nature, was one of the most prestigious journals. And that would never happen. She didn't have like I would say she was not looking for jobs. She just shared something with a friend. Sometimes share with your friends and get friends that you're looking for jobs, and this is the area that you're looking for. You never know when that will be like the opening door for you. So develop a network and talk openly about your job search. And this is one example, but I have many in my life, and it happened with me as well. The program that I applied in Off Contact that took me to Pfizer was a friend of mine who told me about this program. I never know about, and I told him, well, I'm looking for PhDs. I failed all my applications. I don't know what to do. And my friend told me, oh, there is this program. Why don't you try to apply? And I tried and I got in. You have to talk with people. You have to don't stay in your home, in your computer, doing it by yourself. Get support.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you so much, Pedro. We have we have here a last question, I would say, from an international student that says that sometimes she's asking if there is a barrier regarding nationality from people, for example, from Brazilian. She's Brazilian. From your point of view, do you think that these opportunities and companies do you think that there is this constraint, this barrier?
Well, obviously, job searching within Europe for Europeans is facilitated by the agreements of movement between people and services within the European Union, and that is more complicated for people that come from abroad for like legal reasons, like you have to have a visa and so on and so forth. Other than that, there should have no barriers, particularly in science. Science is a very international area. There are people from many different nationalities working together. So, well, and if you're Brazilian, like coming from Portugal, language is no longer a barrier. It's already an obstacle that was already passed. A lot of times the language is a barrier. Yeah, like if I wanted to go to Germany, a lot of positions, they require you to speak German, and I don't speak German. So that could be a barrier. But other than that, it shouldn't be.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pedro, for your contribution, for your sharing, and for your perspective and perceptions as well. I think it was really great to hear you about these career management skills and how we can develop our path in science or in other areas, of course. You also mentioned another topic, very important, the connections, networking, and also the transferable skills that sometimes people in science, in academia, sometimes don't really remember the skills that they have and that can be transferable for industry. And so it's really important also, and you have also mentioned it, and also the trends for this career development in science. Thank you so much. And tomorrow, please, if you want to have one or more, to clarify one or more topic with Pedro, you can do it in the virtual stand at the platform of the fair from 11 to 12, right, in the morning. Yes. So please feel free to go there virtually.
From 12 to 13, sorry.
Oh, sorry, from 12 to 13. Please feel free to go there and talk with Pedro from our contributions, from our perspectives, also for more tips as well, and to get to know more about Chaperone and also their services. Thank you so much, Pedro, and thank you all. Have a good afternoon, and we will still have more 2 webinars today and tomorrow, the big day of the fair and the connection with companies. Don't forget it. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.